Banana banana. All right.
Bananas.
Bananas. I think we are good to record.
We are live.
Uh, Fuck it, we're doing it live.
Okay, we'll do it live.
Um, so what are we talking about today, friend?
We are talking about what I am today.
Sick,
And what I've been pretty much since Christmas. I would
dude.
say.
It's
I've been sick. I
insane.
think I've been sick since California.
I feel like I've been chronically sick since about the week after Christmas.
But the thing is, that's how winters used to be before the golden year.
Before the golden year,
Before the golden
which
year
this movie is
takes place in.
takes place in during
Yeah.
that time. So yeah, we are here to talk about Sick, which is it's one of our very few COVID movies, right?
Yes,
We've only really had, I want to say, two COVID movies.
I would love a horror COVID universe.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with the COVID universe. I'm holding my microphone like this. I've noticed that I turn my head from the mic a lot, and then I can hear it
In the show?
in the
In
recording
the program.
in the program.
Yes.
And the kid is like, "Are you guys recording?" I'm like, "Yes, I told you." um, but yeah, so we had Host come out.
Host.
We watched Host, the one that's
The
all in
paranormal.
Zoom.
Yes. And that came
Yes,
out early.
that was
We watched that in
still
like
2020.
we watched that in like the first times where it's like, okay, can we go to people's houses again?
Yes,
Yeah.
so that was maybe like second half of 2020.
Halloween. It was
Halloween time-ish, yep. And then this is our first post-COVID movie that actually, you know, touches on like a lot of the
That features COVID.
that features COVID, right?
COVID
Because
is a main
I
character.
mean, we've had references to COVID. Knives Out
Knives
takes
Out
place during COVID,
takes place
but
during COVID.
let's be honest, like,
There's that one episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which takes place.
does it really?
It's funny. I think it's the first episode of the latest season.
Oh,
And it still came out in 2021. And it strictly treated COVID like a post-COVID thing. It very
so
much was like, COVID's over.
so basically,
was not.
like today,
Today.
like
Except
today.
COVID's over.
Yeah, and so I am pretty okay with this being a genre that, I mean, you have to address it at some point.
COVID?
Like, I think you could technically go on like pretending it just never happened.
Well, that's like pretending 9/11 didn't happen.
Exactly.
I mean, it is. This sounds like hyperbolic, right? Because I mean, it's a different kind of tragedy. Don't get me wrong, but like
Mhm.
it's COVID is probably the most influential thing in my lifetime since 9/11, I would say.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, that does make sense.
Like I look back at 9/11 and I'm like, I can see tangible ways that my life has been impacted by this. I
Hmm.
look back at COVID, I'm like, I see tangible ways that my life has been impacted by this.
Yeah, and I think we feel COVID more because we were older when it happened.
Yeah, and then but also like 9/11 was like sad for a day.
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh, you can hear the puppers in the
I can
background.
hear our guest stars. 9/11
Guest
was
stars.
sad for a day, right? But COVID was like,
Yeah, big deal.
yeah.
Very big deal. So we have the movie Sick. Brief synopsis. So we have these two girls. They go spend quarantine
At the lake house.
at a lake house.
Beautiful lake
A
house.
very nice lake
Yeah.
house. Which I think I told you. Funny enough, the first time I saw this movie, I was at a like an Airbnb type of thing,
Oh yeah.
and so like
This
I was by
past-
myself
this
watching
past
this
weekend,
movie.
right.
Yeah, and it was like 2 a.m. because I was waiting for someone to show up, supposedly late.
Yeah.
They never showed up. Whole thing. Um, and there's these huge, big ass windows.
Oh.
And like, I'm not saying this movie's like not scary or that it is scary, but like watching a movie and you have these big ass windows and you're just like watching something that's supposed to be suspenseful, you're like,
Yeah.
oh shit, is someone gonna be watching?
It does make you, I have a big maze like house,
Mhm.
right? And so that that type of thing does ring extra hard when you're in the environment where there's many ways that people
For
could
sure.
get it.
For sure. So yeah, so they're spending um their COVID quarantine at this place. You do see like at the very beginning there's people like packing their shit as they're
Uh-huh.
going out of school. So that I thought was kind of interesting because it kind of was what we were doing early pandemic.
Yeah, it takes place in April.
April.
Um,
Like that's after like the shutdown, but this is kind of when people are like, all right, we're not going back, start packing your shit, get out.
it was interesting because at the in in the store, and then masks play a significant ish role in this movie, right?
Yeah.
Um, but the everybody was wearing a mask in the store, right? And people were shamed for not wearing masks.
Hmm.
And I was trying to remember how I was like, by April 2020, was it mask time? Was it not mask time? Because there was all that ambiguity about like this. It's nice that it takes place in the wild west of COVID, like where
Yeah.
people are like Febrezing
The
their cereal
groceries.
boxes, but that's what I was trying to say. I'm like, okay, like by this time, like did we have that precaution or that
And
precaution?
it's so hard to remember like the little details, right?
Yeah.
There's one part that made me laugh. I actually like laughed out loud. It's very early in the movie when we have like our opening scene with this boy Tyler.
Yeah.
He's waiting in line and some girl like coughs and everyone just
Everybody
fucking
stares.
turns
Yeah. In the
and I'm
grocery
like,
store.
yeah, and it that is how it was.
So it's funny, well, I'll get to this later because I was trying to see, eventually you do find out how Tyler is connected to the story.
Yes, yes, yes.
But I was trying to see, once it was known that our main characters were college students. I was like, Tyler lives in too nice of a house to be a college student. Like, and this is clearly he lives alone. But then I was like, why are these people buying all this like junk food? Like these people need like some vegetables. So I was like, maybe that's evidence that Tyler was like a college student because they're
Yeah,
like just like buying this shit. But no,
yeah.
I think he was an adult. But long story short, people needed to eat healthier in this movie.
No, he was a college student.
He banged a college student. I don't think
I
they
think it's
confirmed
implied that everybody in that get together.
get together, but that was a nice house that he lived in.
It
That
is
was
a very big. It's a very big, almost like if you have a bunch of roommates,
yeah,
but like none of the roommates were there.
exactly.
It's almost like
But
everybody else left and he's stuck around.
so he could have been quarantining by himself.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah.
And again, people quarantined in different ways. Like
Mhm.
there were some days where Katie and I said we're gonna go to an Airbnb for a weekend.
Yeah, why
Yeah,
not?
why not?
It made me realize that like I think May is when Ro and I saw each other for the first time.
Hmm.
And granted, it was outside, and I know everybody experienced quarantine like differently. But like for me, at least personally, when I look back, and I was like, that was just like fucking 2 months of being alone, right? And I would live with my family, so I was not even like alone.
Hmm.
But it really wasn't like that isolating.
Yeah.
Like in Illinois, you could have been fucking with people like
For sure.
by May.
Yeah. And it's always like we when we think about like the quarantine, like a lot of us, I feel like our group took it relatively seriously, especially at first.
We did, but we lived the high life,
We lived a high life, but I mean, because we kind
the
of went
safe
out
high
of our
life.
way
Yeah,
to like find ways to do it, right? Like we
exactly.
had Call of Duty nights, we had
Among Us.
Among Us and all that shit, right? And then there were people who like had COVID and they could not last the 2 weeks of like
Of
not seeing people.
correct.
Like I think Katie and I for like the first month we didn't see anyone
No.
at all. Like maybe we saw my parents
Well, no,
and that's it.
that first month is basically just through April 13th,
Yeah.
right? But that's like, but we had our the world is shutting down party on March 13th,
We
that Friday.
did. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
night we were like,
our
oh
fish tacos party.
yeah.
Uh, and
We
then
had Coronas.
we had Coronas, and then that was it. And then I forget when we first saw each other and we were in like a car together. But I remember we were in a car together
It
once.
was later.
Yes, it may have been close to Christmas, and we were masked.
Yeah.
And then we eventually became Republicans. We're like, I feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And to be fair, it worked out for us, but
oh, we're
it worked
fine.
out. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. But anyway, back to the movie. So back to the misadventures of our girl Parker and Miri. So let's talk about the opening sequence.
I love this opening
I
sequence.
really I really liked it. I think it does a really good job at showing you what things were kind of like during the pandemic. Like
It
the
does.
stores are weirdly quiet.
Yep.
Like, I mean, yeah, you're by yourself shopping. Like, yes, there's other people,
No toilet paper.
no toilet paper.
The characterization of Tyler is interesting because there's that scene where he reaches for the last toilet paper, and there's a mom with a baby. He's like going to take it, and then he doesn't. He gives it to them. But the lady's like, "Dick," and I was like, "God damn!" Like,
Yeah,
yeah. But it makes it interesting because it sets him up as like, because by the time like as the movie goes on, you're like, "Was Tyler a piece of shit?" Then you're like, "Oh no!" Like the movie makes it seem like Tyler was a good dude who just happened to get caught up in.
yeah, I would say he's not a dick. I
Not a
mean,
dick. Not a dick.
not a dick. Maybe made some bad choices,
Who
which
did it?
again,
Yeah.
especially in those times,
Yeah. Wild West.
you roll the dice. You don't
Exactly.
know 100%. Like your stupid like college age brain
Correct.
is gonna make dumb choices, and like if we as adults,
Which, and for the record, like I will, like obviously, like people were too callous during this time and too careless.
mhm.
But I will say I can speak from this from not having to sacrifice any of my college years, right? Like I do feel bad for like kids who basically like got 2 to 3 years of their college life shit on,
Yeah,
right? So I may have been more of a Republican in
yeah, for
college.
sure.
Who knows?
For sure. So yeah, so he's shopping. He's somebody's like stalking him. They're sending him
Yeah,
texts. Not once does he think of calling
yeah.
to see, whose
Who
phone
was it?
rings.
Right.
That's one thing that I always think of. But anyway, not the point. So we do have a pretty good chase sequence happen in his apartment.
To me, this is like a quintessential slasher opening.
Yes.
It is interesting because he's a male
Hmm.
and he's like white, so there go like those two tropes of like your
Exactly. Yeah, it's usually a
or
girl, a white girl,
or a black person.
or a minority.
Yeah. Um, but what was I gonna say? But I love how this movie gets right into it. Like
Hmm.
hour 26 minute runtime,
It
and
is very short.
and I'll even say later that I think it could have been even shorter. And I eagerly actually look forward to. I think Werewolf by Night has like made me crave
Like a tight
more
hour.
hour 10 minute movies.
Okay,
I
that's
think they're
fair.
possible. I think you could turn this movie into an hour 10 minute movie. And not that I thought it
Mm,
was too long. Not that I thought it was too long.
okay,
But I like these get right to it horror
for
films. Yeah.
sure. But I think it's also a symptom of when you have like you want a studio movie,
Yeah.
even if it's for streaming,
Yeah.
like you still want essentially like a theatrical length, like a feature film,
Who's you? The
like the
studio?
studio.
Oh. Yeah, they will. But like
Yeah,
as a consumer, I'm like, I would love a one off 70-minute thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense. And some movies can be, and I'm okay with this being a little overlong, because I was thoroughly entertained the whole time.
Yeah.
So obviously we can kind of spoil a bit of the beginning because it's just the beginning. And
Right.
besides from Scream, I don't think I've seen a slasher where in the intro someone gets killed and they're actually not dead. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so Tyler
He's
gets
dead.
got,
Yeah.
and then we are introduced to our main characters. And then let's go ahead through the movie.
Yeah.
I would say now we're going to go into spoilers. See this movie. I've had a lot of fun. It's
Yeah,
also
see it.
free.
It's
It's
free
relatively free, right?
if you have premium Peacock. Not if you have free Peacock.
Oh, really?
Really.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have it through Katie's parents, so I don't know.
I went through my Comcast, but initially I didn't realize I logged in with my Comcast, but it didn't know, even though it was a Comcast email, it doesn't automatically know that you have Xfinity.
Okay.
And then I had to like find the place for Xfinity, and then I had to like press that button. And then
Gotcha.
I could watch it for free. But I was like, I don't think I have to fucking pay for this. But anyway.
Yeah, so very, very good. So we have our two main girls. What are your thoughts on our main girl?
Parker and Miri.
Parker and Mary.
Um, Park Parker is for being like COVID careless. I think they still do make her rather likable.
Yes,
Yeah,
So there was another COVID movie that came out called Dash Cam recently
Yeah,
of a girl who does like ride share
yeah,
during COVID, but she is like a bitch.
yeah.
And I think the actor who plays her is actually like a Republican, like
Gina Carano.
vaccines
Yeah,
are blah blah blah.
right.
It was made by the guy who did Host,
Ah,
which I think is
yeah.
kind of interesting. But she is likable.
Yes.
I think at first you kind of maybe go, oh, am I gonna not like her?
Yeah, I thought she was gonna be the. I was like, I wonder if they're gonna turn her into like not the villain, but like well, like the villain in Barbarian, where it's someone who's in a protagonist-ish position.
Oh, Justin Long's
Yeah, and then
character.
you're like, oh, fucking die already, right?
Yeah,
But no, not with her.
not with her. She does a pretty good job
Yeah,
at, and this is gonna sound really weird, but when you think of like a slasher final girl,
yeah.
she's not like your conventional looking girl.
No,
She's kind of average looking, which is fine.
yeah. Her outfit is like, first of all, a lot of my students will wear that exact outfit dress down days at my school,
Fair.
and they will typically have like that personality.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like I'm like I've seen Parker before.
That's funny.
I've taught Parker before.
Yeah, so she's going to quarantine with her friend Miri. I really like Miri. It kind of
She's
got to a
resourceful.
point. It kind of got to a point where I was like, "Oh, is Parker gonna be unlikable enough that they kill her and they make
Mary
Miri
the
the
main,
final girl?"
yeah.
That I really thought that was a possibility. But I really did like their relationship. They
Yes.
felt like they were friends. It's not like they're just two people in this house.
Miri is more COVID cautious.
Yes, for sure.
Parker throws heat to the wind a little more.
Yeah.
Um, Interestingly, Miri or Parker, she's in her, she's in her slut phase,
Mhm.
right? And I say this with love. Uh, and it's in college when it's
When it's
supposed to
supposed
be.
to be.
Um, uh,
We know they don't
yeah,
listen to this podcast.
but it's there's this other character DJ,
Yes, so he's our third like lead, I guess you could say. Supporting.
which then I was like, within the span of like 10 seconds, I was like, oh, is he going to be the piece of shit? I thought he was the killer for a moment, and then I'm like,
Hmm.
nah, he's here too long to be the killer. And I'm like, is he going to be a piece of shit? And then within 10 seconds, I'm like, I think they're going to try to make us think he's a piece of shit,
Hmm.
and he's not going to be a piece of shit. And that's kind of what happened. But Miri was like, she was like pushing for that Parker DJ love. And she's like, he likes you. And she's like, you should like, she's like encouraging her to settle down.
Oh,
Yeah,
I did not read it as that. Um, Interesting.
yeah.
I just thought she was kind of more like protective of Parker.
She was, and I think at first I was like, oh, I think she like, because like DJ like comes in the house in the creepiest way.
He does.
Yes.
He does for sure. And I mean, in the movie where you're expecting a slasher and a killer, like it is filmed in such a way that you are gonna feel.
To the extent that Andrew Skarsgård seems like the villain in the Barbarian trailer.
Oh,
Not Andrew Skarsgård.
not Andrew Skarsgård.
Um, but the guy.
Yes.
To the extent that he seems like the villain in the Barbarian trailer, DJ's arrival at like the house.
Yeah, he just walks
It's the
in
most
willy nilly.
sus in the middle of the night. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, no, he arrives in the day.
Is it in the day?
Yeah, he arrives like midday. He knocks at the door and like they ask him something. He doesn't answer, and then he's like, "Yeah, I was on the fucking phone. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
answer."
yeah. Then he just walks in.
And then he walks in through the back door.
Right.
Um, but I think it's also important to point out that one of the reasons why Parker is kind of shitty is because she's loaded.
She is loaded.
So that does go with that entitlement that you
Yeah.
saw a lot in like COVID days, right? Like a lot of the poors were actually hunkering down and
Yeah, COVID was great for me, not for other people.
yeah.
Yeah.
And but like it's even more so than that. Like these are like she's driving a fucking Range Rover.
Yeah.
Like she has a lake house.
And this is a nice lake
It's
house.
a it's a beautiful fucking lake
Like, why
house.
isn't this your primary house?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's to that level
yeah,
of like fuck you money.
yeah,
So like that does make sense why she would be so like that's just throw caution to the wind.
yeah. She's spoiled.
She's spoiled for
Yeah,
sure. Miri seems a little bit more down to earth.
down to earth.
I
There's a relative at home
Yeah, I
who's
don't feel
immunocompromised.
like I don't feel like she's it doesn't specifically say if she's, wealthy, but she's probably like the friend who's not super loaded, who has a friend who happens to be loaded.
Yeah, I would say she's probably not wealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but we do have a few scenes in this movie where we see that someone is already stalking them, and
Yes.
that's kind of why my suspicions of DJ were kind of already out.
As in, you didn't think
I
DJ was
didn't
bad.
think DJ. I could tell
Yeah.
that he's the obvious like red herring character in these type of movies. Which by the way, we haven't talked about it. This movie was written by the guy who did Scream, like the
Yes.
original
The original Scream.
OG
Yeah.
Scream.
Yeah.
Like everybody gives Wes Craven a lot of credit, which yes, you probably should as the director, but like to actually make a movie work, like
You
you
needed
need
that
someone to
writer.
have a good, writing.
Right.
Um, so we have a lot of some relationship drama between DJ and Parker, and we do see that they decide that, they're gonna party, they get drunk, they go to
Yeah.
bed,
What
and
a
this
fun
is
rave that was, by the way. What a lovely rave.
a three-person rave.
They dance so stupid. There are all right. So very quickly, I'm gonna say I give this movie 3 stars, and I think it's a very hard hitting 3 star movie. But there are just like some scenes that to me are just like so comically dumb that I almost have to hold it against the film. And
Fair,
I don't think the rave is there yet. But oh god, what bad dancing!
yeah.
What bad
There's
dancing!
It's a little cringe. I mean, it's the kind of cringe that you expect when you're doing something
Realistic.
realistic with three people.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you have a dance party with three people, it's
yeah.
gonna be
It's gonna be
it's
cringe.
gonna be cringe.
Right.
Like I think if you take a dance scene in the in a movie and there's hundreds of people and you
Yeah,
focus on just three, you're gonna see some shit.
for sure.
I think.
For sure.
Um, but I one of the things that I want to point out too for you is I think you just saw this movie recently,
Yep.
right? Like for me, it's been
It's been a
about a week and
while.
a half.
Yeah.
So some things are not quite as fresh. That's why I have my notes that I brought out. But one of the things that I noticed was I think the bad guy was in the house way before. At one point, they show like the door
Yeah.
open, but then at the end of the movie, when Parker goes out, like the girls have gone to bed, Parker is chilling out in the um like in the living area.
Right.
He goes out, and then someone walks in.
And it's that it was the timing of that that made me at first not think DJ was the red herring because there was something about the timing of the bad guy's arrival and DJ's arrival
Hmm.
where I was like, oh, like there's trouble afoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that one thing that kind of going a little bit ahead that does make somewhat sense now that I'm thinking about it, there are two of them,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah.
two
Two
killers
killers.
plus a third party.
Which I actually kind of love how that sequence came about. Like when it's revealed that there are two killers,
Yes.
because
It's very well made,
it is
I
very
think.
made.
Very, very good. So before we get to that, so we have our killer who's wearing like a ninja costume.
Yeah. A
And
serrated knife.
serrated knife. He's covered head to toe. The only thing that you can really see are his eyes,
Uh,
and it's funny how that not only plays into the fact that it's a costume, you're trying to hide what you look like, but it also plays into the fact that
it's COVID,
it's COVID.
right?
They are wearing
They're wearing
they're
masks.
wearing their gaiters
Yeah.
basically to keep people from giving them COVID, which
Yeah.
is very funny later on when that's revealed. Um, and I did write down. It's like, is there one killer or like is there more? Because like some things just don't seem to add up. Like
When
at first, just seems like
oh yeah,
weird.
I wondered how many were involved in killing Tyler. I did wonder that if it was the one or the two.
Hmm. At one point, DJ does like fuck shit up.
Yeah.
Like he like beats this guy up. The girls are like running all over the house. There's a very good kill for DJ, where like they have him like at first like that was when I was like, oh, maybe he is involved in this, like
Right.
he's actually part of this. But no, then they show him he's like they have him with like this weird metal
Looks
spike,
like
which is I don't know, is it a flagpole?
it looks like a curtain pole to me. I don't
Maybe.
know for sure.
Maybe, but it's just like really like
Long,
long metal pole,
like a spear.
basically, and
Yeah.
they just like they're dangling him,
Yeah.
which looks really creepy,
Yeah.
and then just fucking stab him all the way through and just drop his ass.
Yeah.
Very good kills. That was I think the first kill that I was like, oh shit, like this is gonna go like kind of hard.
For sure.
It does go
For
hard.
sure.
It uses its blood
Because
and
early on before
kills.
that, there's not a very like cinematic like gore fest kill.
Yeah.
That's the
Um,
first one.
and this is where the girls realize that they don't have his keys.
Right.
They have to go back in the house to get his keys. Eventually, they do take one of them down.
They do.
And Parker
Parker
just
beats him up,
goes,
right?
yeah, she
Yeah.
like fucks his face up with a toaster, I think.
And it's enough to the point where like you're like, oh, he is dead,
Yeah.
even though he's not at that point. But you are convinced
It's
like
believable that he
that
could be dead.
it is believable that he can be dead.
And I remember watching, I was like, holy shit, Parker, like, damn, girl.
Which is interesting about this movie and like horror in general, because I feel like horror is when you can. It's the genre within which you can play the most with suspension of disbelief and what the physics of your universe allows and like doesn't allow.
Mm,
Like there's a scene later that when I watched, I was like, all right, fuck this scene.
sure.
But like I think part of what made it more believable that the slasher in this film is just so omnipotent is that there were two of them.
Yes.
And then you could, in theory, like have doubles going from place to place and fucking with
Yeah.
technology.
It does make sense.
And I bring that up here because when I saw her beat the shit out of the guy, at that point I was like, okay, now there has to be another one.
Yeah, I looked at the clock and I was like, wait a minute, it's only been like 45 minutes.
Well, that and like these villains have shown that they're very formidable at this point, right? So
Hmm.
like for the whole threat to just be eliminated like that, I'm like, no, it has to coming. And the timing of the reveal of the second killer just like through that door
Hmm.
when she beat the shit out of the first one, I was like, oh,
Yeah, it's very
perfect,
good. Which
perfect.
then also puts into perspective the very first kill of the movie in the opening, where you do hear someone leaving,
Yeah,
and then someone comes out from behind Tyler and slits
so
his
it's
throat.
right.
So like that then starts to make sense that
Yeah.
it's both of these guys. And yeah, we have the second guy come in. He's like, "Oh shit, like
Mhm.
you're dead. You know, you fucking bitches."
Yeah.
And then we have this chasing that leads them to the attic, which leads to our girl Miri getting just yeeted off
Yeeted.
of the second floor.
She has to heal herself.
I
Yeah.
I thought that was it.
For her.
For Miri, I kind of wasn't. Um, I was like, if this is how she dies, like I guess I could see it happen, but it's a very uneventful
Uneventful death.
way for a character to go. But she does end up with a broken leg,
Yeah.
which then leads Parker to have to kind of distract this guy.
Right. He tells
Um,
her to play dead.
she does tell her to play dead.
Yeah.
The guy does kind of believe her, and she distracts him by throwing rocks,
Correct.
and she leads him to the lake, which does lead to one of my. This is actually one of my least favorite scenes of the
I hate
movie,
this scene.
where
This scene took the movie down a whole star for me, at
I would
least.
agree.
Yeah.
You're talking about like when she's like paddling down the river,
Yeah.
and this guy is like stabbing through.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way this old guy is catching up.
This is where I could not suspend disbelief. Because
Yes.
first of all right, I'm gonna sound stupid for even trying to physics this. But, like she's at the pond. He looks like, he's like, ah shit, like I can't get it from here. I thought he was gonna like take a car like and like
Circle around.
and yeah, do something. And then it's revealed that no, he's like swimming like a fucking Navy SEAL, like
Yeah,
underneath, holding on to the bottom of this like raft.
one would assume.
I don't know where his air bubble is, but then to have enough momentum with the knife where he can actually like stab through the cracks And
Well,
like,
so I understand stabbing through the cracks because it's just nothing, right?
yeah,
And I guess if you want to say like, is there an air bubble? There is. There those things are usually kind of like a
but how?
little, not a lot,
Yeah,
but my thing is like, girl, just put your feet like on the boards and just leave a slit in the middle. Like you're fine.
that, but
He's not gonna be able to
yeah.
cut through the wood.
Well, but then I don't even think you could like to be able to like deal that. I know it's a sharp knife, but to be able to deal that much damage on your back, stabbing against gravity, and for millions of fans at home, like trying to enact this, I don't think you
I
could do
can't
that.
remember. Does he get her in the hand in
He
this
gets her
scene?
in the hand. He impales her hand.
Which
He goes all the way through.
Which again, I pointed this out because that also happens to Tyler at the beginning.
Right.
If there's one thing that is always very effective for me, is when someone gets stabbed through the hand.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh.
And then she has to swim with a hole through her hand.
Yeah,
Like
that I can be like, whatever.
whatever, but like she has to swim with a hole through her hand, like to the one neighbor who's like 2 miles
The
away,
old
they
guy.
said. And then I'm supposed to believe that like she's in the water with him in the water, and like he's not able to like overtake her, even though he Navy sealed it like all the way here, right?
Yeah.
And I know it's fiction, but this was at the point where I'm like, all right, this scene, like
Yeah.
it's goofy.
I think you can eliminate that scene.
I laugh at it now. It's stupid that I'm like hyper like realistically critiquing it, but I'm like,
It's
yeah.
I can't remember if this is something that I saw someone just tweet or if the actual writer said this. Like, you wanted a chase scene, I'll give you a fucking chase scene. Because I think at one point somebody did complain that there weren't enough chase sequences
I don't know.
in Scream 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
which fair, I guess,
Yeah.
because like a lot of his movies are like there's a name for it. It's the final girl circuit,
Yeah.
where the final girl runs through basically the whole
The whole house.
like yeah, the whole house or whatever the sequence takes place, and
Yeah.
you see all the dead bodies or whatever. Um, but yeah, so we have her go to the neighbor's house. He has the shotgun,
I love that the villain, after he like drops the neighbor, I love that he picks up the shotgun and is just like
which
boom,
you
boom,
would.
which I thought she was going to.
I thought so too,
Yeah,
but then like she was far enough away that I guess when
right. But you got to
it
make a
doesn't
mad
make
dash.
sense.
You got if there's a gun if there's a gun in the room, you have to make a mad dash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that does make sense. Um, so then, oh, there was a there's a after this, like we cut away back to the house, and Miri is there. She goes and picks up an electric knife,
Yeah.
and then she's looking at her leg, and I'm like, Miri, what are you doing? The leg is fine. Cut it off. But no, she just makes
Makes
like
a splint.
a splint out of a bar stool.
The camera pans to the dead body a couple times, and it's like at one point it's like one too many. We're like, okay, this body's not dead.
Hmm.
And I was like,
I think, and so I don't know. I don't know if it's too much to telegraph it, because if you don't, then you're like, oh, damn, came out of nowhere.
right.
But I think it's prepping you to be like, all right, it can happen.
I almost,
Don't be surprised if it does.
I almost rather. I mean, it does make the movie more thrilling if there's like if the original guy like if you add another player to the game, right?
Hmm.
I almost wish the movie just like committed to having him die just because of how badly he got like his fucking skull caved in.
Dude,
Yeah.
so many hits.
I would have taken another family member. I would have taken two siblings and two parents. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we do, after that whole chase happens, Miri does kill the guy.
She kills the guy.
I can't remember how she kills him exactly.
I feel like it's a knife.
It might be just
Yeah.
a knife. Um,
Well, he's dead.
but he's dead.
Dead, dead.
He's finally dead. Then we get the they chase Parker to the main road,
Right?
and we have the
The
lady. They're
car.
fighting.
Yeah.
She runs towards a car, and it's this lady, and that
Yeah.
they play this in the trailer for this, of the lady being like, "Oh, I gotta put my mask on. Do you have a mask?" And she's like, "Lady, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
And this is where at first I was like, if this is nothing, man, this is stupid.
This
It's
is
funny but stupid.
this is where all right, so early on, Tyler gets yelled at. He takes off his mask in the parking lot of the store while he's leaving, right? Because he's pissed because someone's like fucking with him, right?
Yes.
And there's a character who the shot makes it look like the character runs into Tyler And the character's like, "Watch it, Dick. Where's your mask?" And then I'm like, "Oh, is this movie like not anti-masker, but like anti people who are like being a hard ass for like not wearing a mask?" Because he only has it off for like a split second, right?
Yeah. And it's outside.
And it's outside. But once again, at this point, the science was not clear.
Fair.
Now, so that happens. Rest of the movie happens. Then we get to this scene, and before it's revealed that this lady in the car is a baddie, and then she's like, "Oh, your mask." I'm like, "Dude, she fucking told you like someone's about to kill
And
her."
she's all like
Yeah.
bloody and shit.
And then I was like, then I was watching. I'm like, is this movie like making fun of people who are like too strict about like COVID protection? And it kind of is.
It kind of
Once you get
is.
to the final reveal of what's going on.
Yes.
But then there's a twist.
But it makes sense. So
Yeah.
then that's why I super excuse that scene because I'm like,
I love
oh,
that scene.
it's funny.
I love
It goes from being funny to being stupid to
Yeah.
okay, now it's funny again. Where she basically has
This
chloroform.
mask smells funny.
It's fucking chloroform on this mask. It's revealed then that the lady is somehow involved, and so then you're like, oh, okay. So what's the big reveal? And
Right.
the reveal is that this family there were originally 5 people.
There was
4
mom,
people.
dad, Benji,
And
and the brother,
and 2 brothers. Jeb.
Jeb. Yeah.
Jeb's the one who's been killing.
Yes. And
Right?
he's got a skull candy.
Yep. And the reveal is that Benji was at a party, which we do get his name earlier in the movie.
And this is where I expected the first dead guy to be Benji. And I was like, Benji's got to be involved in some way, shape, or form in this movie because he's the only other named like character.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I see what
Yeah.
you mean. Okay. Yeah, and but yeah, then we find out that apparently Benji was at the same party that Parker was.
They made out.
They made out. He got the vid
He got
bad.
this fit ass motherfucker, this fit ass college student got the vid.
Was he fit?
He was fit. He was skinny.
He was thin. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say he was fit, like ripped.
I don't know if he was ripped.
Well,
He looked in shape.
I've seen people get taken out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He got taken out.
yeah, he got taken out by COVID, right?
Yeah.
This is a pre-vaccine world.
Yeah.
This is maybe hospitals are starting to get full.
Yeah. He probably had an autoimmune disease.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, mom and dad and brother are very, very upset that Benji died. Like a lot of people died alone in a hospital room without being able to see your family.
Yeah.
So
Up.
I get it. Like
They're mad.
they're mad. They're mad. And you know, in a way, I kind of get it.
Why they'd be that mad?
Why they would be mad. This is like
Yeah,
not like
lost a kid.
this is like well, you have to go by like movie logic, right?
Right.
In an elevated movie, like heightened state of mind, heightened
Right.
realism, like it makes sense.
And the movie is also smart enough to point out to him through Miri, I think, when they reveal. Like one of the girls is like, "Your fucking kid was at this party too." Like it's not like
Yeah,
it's not just our fault for being selfish. Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wrote like, oh, they're killing super spreaders, and it is revealed that Parker like was the one who gave him the vid.
Yes.
She's like,
Oh,
they have the little test.
now I remember the most unrealistic thing about this movie.
Sure.
They had a test in April of 2020. They had a test. That was, if there's one thing I remember, it was like, oh man, we are not getting our testing out in time.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I want to say there was something that the lady says that she may be involved in like being a nurse or something.
Oh,
Maybe.
But she
But she like swabs her
she
nose.
assaulted that nose.
She, to be fair,
Yeah.
when I've gotten some testing done, and like if I don't do it myself, they like dig up into your brain.
Yeah.
And if you're mad at this person,
Yeah.
you're gonna dig in deep.
You're gonna dig in deep.
Yeah, and so she takes a little test. They find out that she is
Positive.
but she's asymptomatic.
I'm sure the dollop of blood on there did not tamper with the authenticity.
So, man, listen.
I know, correct.
Especially these early 2020s.
Well, that's actually, I think, what makes this, because I'd like to know what the timing was of him being hospitalized and like dying to this like to the events that take place in the present.
Hmm.
Because and this is where the fact that it's horror makes it a little trickier because horror can like take a lot of I mean any fiction can, but I feel like horror especially can take a lot of liberties between like what needs to be a realistic and what does not be
Sure.
realistic. But if you think about it, a young person is exposed X amount of days before he shows symptoms, X amount of days before he needs to be put on a ventilator, X amount of days before he dies, right?
Yeah.
The family has to like contact trace. Like they have to go. I don't know how many people they officially killed. If it was just
I
Tyler,
think it's
and
just them two so far.
so they have to go find Tyler. Then X amount of time has to pass. It could be a day. It could be several days before
Hmm.
then they have to go find like
Yeah.
our main characters. And it's
Yeah,
like
because she got it from Tyler, right?
they're accusing her of giving it to Tyler.
No,
Oh,
Tyler.
she got it from Tyler.
She got
Yes.
it from Tyler.
Then she
She then
gave it to
gave it to
Benji.
Benji.
To which at that point, right? At that point, statistically, she should be clear. Like she shouldn't be asymptomatic positive anymore, unless it's one of those times where you're like where it like lingers in you.
You got that long COVID.
But that was more of an Omicron Delta thing. Regardless, but where this gets interesting is like you could have it where they're just like playing fast and loose with the science, which fair enough, they have every right to. But then it also could be like these people just by their grief are so like are so just like vengeful and shaken that they will contrive any sort of fucking logic
Yeah,
to get back at them. Because like when she pulls that thing out, it is covered
in
in
blood
blood,
for
right?
sure.
And I'm like, all right, well that's
It's a bit of
that's a
contamination.
contaminated test, right? And like 2020, like those rapid tests. I don't
They
think
are not very
we
accurate.
have those rapid tests that. So like I kind of choose to walk away with the idea that this family is just seeing and believing what they want to see and believe.
And very well, like Benji could have already had it
But you know, I mean,
before.
it's a big party.
It's a big party,
Yeah.
like you have one person in there, you may have multiple people in there.
Well,
Whatever.
there was the first time Ro got COVID, right?
Hmm.
Where we had our Halloween party, right?
Yeah.
We were sharing cups and we shared a cigar,
Cigars
right? She was the only one who like ended up
got
with COVID from
anything.
that party. Yeah,
None of us.
none of us.
Like I think we all tested.
We all tested. We're all negative, right?
Yeah.
And like in her house, it was her and her mom who got COVID. They live in a
But
house
she
of
was
six.
asymptomatic.
She was
The only
after.
the only reason she found out was because she was going to the doctor for
Correct,
something.
correct. But the point is that like it's such a weird, and it still is such a weird disease
For
where
sure.
like you don't fucking know, like the logic when my dad got COVID,
Uh,
like, and he either gave it to his walking group or he got it from his walking group. Like, fuck if I know how certain people got it and certain people did not, because they were all vaxxed, right? It was Omicron, so at that point, like, it didn't really matter.
yeah.
But there was a 90-year-old man like right next to my dad who like was fine. Like all the women in the group were not.
Damn.
Like, but it was like, and my dad was talking to the 90-year-old man for like
The whole walk.
the whole walk.
Yeah.
So you know, I could see someone just like you're gonna like you're so mad about your grief that you're gonna believe what you want to believe.
Yeah, and that goes along with, I know one of your questions or one of your topics was like, how does this movie handle like slasher tropes?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, yeah,
yeah.
it is a trope that like sometimes the motive is very loose and
Mhm.
like you kind of got to just roll with it. Like Pamela Voorhees killing a whole bunch of camp, counselors who did not have anything to do with her kid dying
Right.
in the original Friday the 13th movie. But she's still going out to kill these people who have nothing to do with that. They're
Yeah.
just because they happen to be camp counselors. But you kind of have to just be like, yeah, this is like these are people who are fucking insane,
Yeah.
right? Um, which so then we have another big fight. They have a chase scene.
Yeah.
They kind of force this guy to. They hide from him at first
Yeah.
because Miri is using the Wi-Fi, and this guy's like, "Oh, they're using the Wi-Fi." I'm like, "There's no way this fucking boomer knows." Looking at the modem or the router
Right.
that
The
the
Wi-Fi is being
lights,
used.
yeah, the Wi-Fi is being used for whatever reason.
Well, so let me this yes to the boomer, but they had to be because they fucked with a lot of technology in this film,
Hmm.
like turning TVs on and off, and like playing with electricity. I think a little bit.
Maybe
They are
more techie boomers.
yeah. Someone in the family had to be technologically savvy-ish.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then they they throw Pam. That's her name, the lady's name, because it's Pam and Jason.
Yep.
I wonder if that has to be a reference. Pamela Voorhees and
Jason
then
Voorhees.
Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
It has to
It
be a
has to be. It
reference.
has to be. Because it's
Um,
not a fucking lake.
it's on a lake
Yeah.
in a lake house. They throw her out a window. She's like knocked out,
Yeah.
and then they go up the stairs. He follows them. They like chop his leg,
Right.
and then they throw him off the balcony
He gets deered. Right?
onto like deer antlers,
And
which
then
is a very dope kill.
I remember when I first saw the antlers, and there's a shot that first shows you the
Mhm.
antlers, and it lets you know that they're sharp. And I'm like, okay, this has to be
Oh, for sure, it has to show up at some point. So very, very good. Then the girl's starting to take the car, but it's not working.
right.
So they visit a shed,
Yeah.
and then
Ham.
Pam shows up again, and they fucking
Hey,
just
douse that bitch. in
douse that
gasoline.
bitch in gasoline. And I always appreciate a good fire stunt
Yeah.
because that shit is dangerous,
For
and
sure.
and you can always tell when the fire stunt is fake
Mm,
because fake fire is noticeable.
yeah.
It's hard to make fire look good in CG.
Yeah.
And so you just have her running out and just like drop dead.
Yeah. It's fun.
And very good, very satisfying. Um,
Cops show up.
Cops show up,
Movie over.
movie over.
Yep.
You know,
Lean.
lean,
A lean film.
a very lean film. Um,
As lean as Benji was.
as
Unceremoniously taken from us.
exactly. Um, Honestly, I don't have a lot of like complaints about this movie. I feel like anything that I would be like, oh, this is a bit of an issue. I'm like, I enjoy this movie so much, I'm willing to let
Yeah.
those things slide.
Anything that I haven't complained about, I already talked about.
You already your grievances.
Yeah.
So I do have a question for you.
Right.
Why do you think Bill Maher would like this movie?
Okay. So here's the question: Is the
Hmm.
movie critical of overly cautious COVID people?
Hmm.
Because that's
No,
been Bill Maher's bit for like the past 2 years.
has it really?
He's like, take your fucking mask off, right?
See, I'm not. I don't like Bill Maher,
Yeah,
so I don't know
it's been in the news.
what his things are.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but like he like every like other episode, he will make fun of people who are like still wearing masks. Right?
So, do they not require masks in his audience?
Oh no,
Oh,
no,
interesting.
for sure. But he'll make the same joke about where he'll see somebody driving alone in a car with their mask on, and he'll like, call them stupid.
I will laugh at that.
Right? I will laugh at that too. But like he is very much bothered by like COVID caution. He's pretty much like an anti-vaxxer, right?
Okay.
Not fully like because he got vaccine, but he's like very vax cautious, right?
Okay.
Um. So I was watching this movie because I'm like everybody who there's the guy who bumps into Tyler, right, and like yells at him and tells him to put his mask on. He's a dick. There's the mom with the baby who like I guess she's not particularly cautious or uncautious, but like she's a dick. There's like the killers who are like, upset about people throwing like super spreader events.
Speaking of
Yeah.
that, there's a scene where Jason pulls down his mask because he's doing Lord knows what. He runs up to the girl and starts yelling at her, starts degrading her, and Pam just goes, "Jason, honey, your mask." Puts it on. It's so fucking funny.
But so Miri is another cautious character, but
Mhm.
also not cautious enough. Where like she's willing to quarantine with her friend, like in this thing, and
And yeah, she's at the very beginning she's like, "Hey, put your mask on."
yeah,
They ride to the cabin with the mask on,
which
but as soon
confused
as
me.
you get there,
Yeah.
mask is off.
Now when DJ gets there, she makes him stay 6 feet away.
Yes.
Now, so like you have you have that level of cautious, and then you have this like other extreme level of cautious. And I was watching this movie, I'm like, how to what extent is this movie making fun of COVID cautious people?
I mean, I would say not nearly as much as not in like a malicious way, I think.
No.
This isn't like look at these fucking suckers.
Yes.
I think it's more of a it's showing you like the spectrum of like cautiousness.
I think it is, but I think it also at the same time, like the world that it's portraying is like a very mean kind of brutish world,
Yeah,
right? Like a lot of our like side characters. And when I say side characters, I mean like characters who just have like a line, like are angry
mean.
and assholes,
Yeah,
right? And most of them are like exhibiting some sort of like COVID caution. So I think you can walk away with this movie and maybe like not like a Ben Shapiro critique, or well, you could walk away with it and you could say like, oh, like maybe we were like a bit too mean spirited during that time, right? I think you
yes,
could walk away with that movie having that reflection. And yet you still have the character of Miri, who's like very, very likable
for sure.
and also like responsible and cautious, right? So I think it goes to show you that um non-conservative media can make conservative points better than actual right wingers
Because the
because they're
right
not
does not
stupid.
know how to do
Yeah,
things right.
yeah.
Very good,
Like,
very good.
like I can picture fucking Gina Carano doing a version of this movie, and it will get preachy like an Ayn Rand novel. But it's not. Like it's a surprisingly layered movie.
For
And
sure.
that's kind of actually why I want a COVID cinematic universe
Yes.
in the horror genre. I would like to see more takes
Hmm.
on this very recent time in our lives.
And there's always like the movie that you could set in it and not really address it a lot.
Yeah,
So like we talked a little bit about Host earlier, and like Host does that. Like the movie takes place because of COVID.
yeah,
Like they're like, oh, we got nothing else to do. Let's do a seance through Zoom.
right,
And then at the very end of the movie, the two girls meet each other because they're neighbors.
yeah.
And the girl gets like scared. She jumps in through the window, and like instead of giving a hug, they do the elbow bump. And like those little things, like they let you know, like it's still
They add color to the world.
set in
Yeah,
that. It's finding some light, humor in what was essentially like a really kind of boring time for some people.
really boring time. It was a scary time. I'm not gonna lie. Like I loved that time, but it's like how fucking long? Like is life gonna be like
Yeah,
this? I don't know. Right?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, there are days where I miss it.
for sure.
There are days where I'm like, oh, I am glad that I can go to a movie.
But even in the midst of it, when I was talking to like people like on the phone, I would always say like, if you told me we were gonna have to live like this for like a month or even 2 years, I'd be like, okay, there's an expiration date. But because back then
Yeah,
there was no clarity as to how long, like,
dude. God
yeah,
bless. What are those things called? The fucking the way they did the vaccines. Why am I blanking on this?
why they did the vaccines?
Yeah, because you know how they found a specific.
mRNA? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Like that really is what kind of helped speed things along. Like
for
if
sure,
that shit was not
for sure.
like a thing, we would probably still be deep in this.
Republicans can thank their Lord and Savior Donald Trump for the vaccines that they love so much.
They could.
Yeah.
They could. They are, but you're right. They're too stupid to take the wins. Too stupid.
I like how every episode I bring it to how Republicans are stupid. I'm a political hack,
I mean,
but
we gotta use our platform.
we got to use our
We
platform.
gotta
Unlike Steven Crowder,
we gotta spread our agenda. Hey man, listen, they want to give me $50 million
you can take it.
over 4 years
Yeah,
to say dumb shit.
yeah.
Give me $50 million.
And the funny part is, this is total side shit, but like so the contract said that if he lost half his YouTube ad revenue, then they would deduct 25%. And I'm like, you're still like fucking making money.
Yeah,
like you're coming
he's still making a lot
yeah,
of fucking money.
you're coming out on a team instead of losing 50%. Daily Wire is covering that extra
Which
25.
Which I'm not confused. I'm interested to learn how much money he makes right now that you can be like $50 million. I wipe my ass with $50 million.
So a lot of like the left wing YouTubers think that he used it as a stunt to sort of try to start his own
Hmm.
media empire. But
You can't be hurting.
no, he's not hurting. He's definitely not hurting.
Yeah.
He was on Arthur.
What?
His first role was playing the brain on Arthur.
Really?
Yeah, he worked for
Oh.
PBS.
Oh.
Yeah,
PBS funding the devil.
funding the devil.
All right. Well, on that wonderful note,
Yeah,
which I will totally keep on this unedited version
please
of the
do.
podcast.
Yeah,
Well, we will be back soon with another movie review. I'm not sure what will happen next.
probably something in theaters. Let's do something more lighthearted.
Something more
Not that
lighthearted.
Megan isn't the epitome of lighthearted.
Sounds good. All right, we'll be back soon. Until next time. I know we have that's still a bit of a ways away. Quantum Mania is a bit of a ways away.
Quantum is a bit of ways away.
We'll find something.
Yeah.
All right, listeners. Until next time, he is
He's Javier.
Thano. Bye.
Bye.